Hello, April 1st, 2020. April Fool's Day, but this is no joke. Hope everyone's doing well on this quarantine distance learning thing. Hope everyone's healthy and well, families, whatnot. All right, let's get right into it. Yes, word of the day for today is dogmatic, meaning you are extremely passionate about something that you talk about if you are dogmatic about it, such as Greta Thunberg is very dogmatic about environmental issues. Okay. Um, there will be a word of the day test, and I'm probably going to use sentences that you guys used in your word of the day sheets. For instance, let me see here. I got some word of the day sheets pulled up here. Somebody wrote, Anya wrote, my brother got a sprained ankle, so I helped to mitigate the pain. Good sentence there. Another one. Let me see here. It is obvious that us humans have hit a quandary altogether addressing this coronavirus situation, written by Anahita. The naive boy did not understand his father's minatory insinuations, written by Caleb Alvaron. Great sentence. So what I'll do is I'll probably take sentences from your word of the day sheets, put that into some sort of test. Voila. I might throw some old word of the days in, some oldies but goodies. We shall see. Poetry, April's Poetry Month. I started you guys off on this a few months ago. You're going to be getting a poetry project. I'm going to let you guys work in groups up to 5. You'll be doing a slideshow or a prezi or a podcast or a video. I'm going to give you multiple options. And what you'll be doing is compiling all the original poetry that you guys have written over the last month or so, and you'll be putting them all together into a collection. And that'll be your poetry project. I put in a poetry pack today. You'll be getting a few more. I'm going to read through some of those poems today. The 2020 April Poetry Pack. One of the first poems I put in there is a poem by Mark Strand called Eating Poetry. And it's obviously very metaphorical. Eating poetry. Ink runs from the corners of my mouth. There is no happiness like mine. I have been eating poetry. The librarian does not believe what she sees. Her eyes are sad, and she walks with her hands in her dress. The poems are gone, the lights are dim, the dogs are on the basement stairs and coming up. Their eyeballs roll, their blonde legs burn like brush. The poor librarian begins to stamp her feet and weep. She does not understand when I get on my knees and lick her hand. She screams. I am a new man. I snarl at her and bark. I romp with joy in the bookish dark. Another poem that you guys are gonna read is called Oranges by Gary Soto. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it starts off, the first time I walked with a girl, I was 12, cold and weighted down with 2 oranges in my jacket. Another poem is written by a guy by the name of Allen Ginsberg, who I actually met. He's passed on, one of the most famous beatnik poets of the 60s, 70s, up into the 80s. He wrote a poem called Homework, and it's basically about what he would do for homework to cleanse the earth. Not so much in a modern environmental way, but some of the lines in this poem are rinse down the acid rain over the Parthenon and Sphinx, drain the sludge out of the Mediterranean basin and make it azure again. Put the bluing into the sky over the Rhine. He talks about Central American police states and the Amazon River and putting all the birds and elephants back into the jungles of Africa. It also talks about cleansing the Hudson, the Thames, drain the suds out of Lake Erie. Lake Erie actually caught on fire. It's an amazing story. It talks about Agent Orange, which was a chemical that was used during the Vietnam War, which caused much, much harm. You could read about that. Another poem is by Frank O'Hara called Why I Am Not a Painter. I actually asked you guys a question online, and there might be a connection. There might be a connection. Why I am not a painter. Frank O'Hara, interesting story. He actually got killed by a dune buggy on the beach. He got run over. Another interesting story. Another poem I put in there is called The Juggler. First Fig is another one, very short. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night. But ah, my foes, and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. Edna St. Vincent Millay. Another short poem, Beggar Woman, by Charles Reznikoff. When I was 4 years old, my mother led me to the park. The spring sunshine was not too warm. The street was almost empty. The witch in my fairy book came walking along. She stooped to fish some moldy grapes out of the gutter. That's a weird image. Another poem called American Poetry by Lewis Simpson. Whatever it is, it must have a stomach that can digest rubber, coal, uranium, moons, and poems. Like the shark, it contains a shoe. It must swim for miles through the desert, uttering cries that are almost human. Another poem called Recuerdo by Edna St. Vincent Millay. We were very tired, we were very merry, we had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. It was bare and bright and smelled like a stable, but we looked into a fire, we leaned across a table. We lay on a hilltop underneath the moon, and the whistles kept blowing, and the dawn came soon. And it goes on a few more stanzas. The last two poems in this packet I would like you to read before looking at the very last page. One is called The Garden. Another one is called The Butterfly. And then I want you to look at the last pages and really ask yourself, what do you really appreciate? And think of all the things that you do have compared to all the people in this world that don't have anything. A lot of your poems I've been putting into a Prezi. It's coming along slowly but surely. And yeah, some of your poems were really beautiful. Let me read a few. Sally and Stella and Sadie and Sam, obviously written after the E.E. Cummings poem. Sally and Stella and Sadie and Sam went down to the forest to find some ham, and Sally found a vulnerable wolf pup and took it home to care for it, while Stella befriended a bear who defended her with its life. And Sadie was chased by dozens of bees because she took to their honey. And Sam came home sad and alone because she found an old bird that died alone. For this world is filled with good and bad, and what we do holds that balance. Caleb Alvaron. Here's one by Brianna Bikram. To Find Peace. She hails a cab, hopping into the back, starting a conversation. The day's looking quite drab. Yeah, where you headed? Anywhere, just drive. Sure, but why?